Okay, and we are live from Glasgow, and we have Juan with us, who is in Argentina currently, and soon we will hopefully have our partners in Chile be joining us. My name is Georgia Tsar, and I direct the International Passive House Association based in Germany, and I'll be talking today about our Glasgow Ice Box Challenge before passing over to our South American partners to hear the results of the Santiago Ice Box Challenge. But first, if I can get this to change, what is the International Passive House Association? Well, iPHA, as we call it for short, is a global network of passive house stakeholders covering the entire range of construction and planning professionals. We have well over 5,000 members crossing 50 countries, and many more by now. And we have 22 partner organizations worldwide with whom we affiliate and, of course, organize events and help disseminate passive house information. Our motto is think global, act local, and I think from today's events, you will get the exact sense of how we do that. Taking the Icebox Challenge that started back in the day in places like Darmstadt, Germany, before going to Vancouver in Canada, well, all throughout the US, Melbourne, Australia, and many other places. And now in 2021, we enjoyed an Icebox Challenge in Glasgow this summer and now in Santiago de Chile. So here you can see a map of where some of our many members happen to be located. The dark green represents countries in which we have a partner organization, and the lighter green where we have members currently. But we're always looking to expand that, so do get in touch if that is something of interest to you. The Icebox Challenge was organized as part of the Efficiency, the first renewable energy campaign, which we ran in 2021 together with the entire iPHA network. We wanted to use it to raise awareness for the vital role that energy efficiency in buildings plays in meeting our climate goals, and highlight with it that Passive House is global, replicable, and achievable. We did this by translating the range of materials into many languages, over 20 by now. And it really is a really wonderful way to highlight our motto, again, think global, but act local. So why efficiency first? For many of you, you may be very well aware that the United Nations IPCC highlights substantial action is needed to limit global warming. Indeed, that's part of the reason we're here at COP today. What you may not be aware of is that 35% of global energy consumption comes from the building sector alone, and that the operational stage is the largest contributor to carbon emissions. And the majority of this is from heating and cooling demand, which means we really need to look to reduce that demand. So by providing a range of campaign materials, including a video, which I'll show you in a moment, at least the English version. I believe Juan will also be showing the Spanish version afterwards. Flyers, blog articles, competitions, in-depth articles and infographics like the one you see on the right about Passive House and the Sustainable Development Goals. We have really produced a wealth of information accessible to all. The information is available in multiple languages and also in regional editions to make it locally appropriate for many different countries and regions worldwide. So you can find that information on our website or also, of course, on your local affiliate organization's website. And here's the video.
Buildings. They play a huge role in our day-to-day lives. From the familiarity of your family home to the office you share with colleagues, the restaurants, cinemas, swimming pools, and entertainment facilities where we spend our free time, to the hospitals and care facilities looking out for our health, and the schools and universities where future generations are educated. Buildings impact our world. Yet today's buildings also impact nature in ways that threaten our collective future. Thankfully, achieving better, more sustainable buildings is within reach. By putting energy efficiency first, the Passive House standard reduces heating and cooling demand by up to 90% compared to conventional builds. This ensures comfort, health, sustainability, and savings. Passive house buildings are dynamic, affordable, resilient, and stand the test of time. Buildings impact our lives and our climate, and it is high time to make our indoor environment sustainable for our outdoor one. Efficiency is the first renewable energy, and Passive House is proven to deliver.
Hopefully there wasn't too much interference from the microphone here. So for those of you new to Passive House, I thought I'd give a short introduction on the standard itself. Passive House, or the standard, is a performance-based standard for highly energy efficient buildings. It is not prescriptive and it is not a design standard or a brand. It is based in building physics and achieving the best possible and economical outcome for highly energy efficient buildings. When implementing the standard, a passive house building achieves up to 90% less heating demand and up to 80% less cooling energy demand compared to a conventional build. And we do this by making sure we implement the 5 passive house principles, which I'll detail in a moment, and making use of passive heating and cooling sources, as the name would suggest. Solar radiation, also known as the sun's rays, make great source of heating, and night ventilation, or opening the windows when it gets cooler overnight, as well as shading from trees and umbrellas and every other type of shading, are great ways to cool down your building. And the result is simple: better air quality and higher levels of comfort with lower costs and lower energy use. And this is not only a win-win for the building user and owner, but of course also for the environment, producing much fewer emissions than a standard build. And you can really think about this like a thermos, keeping in the heat or the cool, because it doesn't have a perforated envelope. The thermal envelope is keeping everything inside at the temperature we want it to be, versus an actively heated coffee machine, which is requiring outside heating to keep the coffee at the temperature we desire. As I mentioned, we have 5 passive house principles, and those are a thermal bridge reduced design, so not having holes or perforations in the building envelope. Air tightness, of course, I think that's clear. And because of these 2 strategies, we really need an adequate ventilation strategy to go with it. That is, in most cases, a mechanical ventilation unit. We use passive house windows that are applicable to the local climate and thermal insulation to make the most of that. And this results in a higher level of comfort, continuous filtered fresh air, especially important in these times of COVID. It results in the buildings being built to last and performing as planned with no performance gap, as we see in many other buildings. In fact, today I learned the performance gap in the UK is around 60%, meaning the buildings are using 60% more energy to keep them warm or cool than they originally planned with. They can also be designed as desired, as I mentioned, because Passive House is a performance standard, not a design requirement. And they are, of course, cost effective because over the life cycle, they're not making use of exorbitant amounts of active heating or cooling sources to keep them at the temperature you desire. Passive House, as we'll learn today, can be applied to any climate. Right here in Glasgow, where it is used in many different projects, especially social housing, and we've visited some fantastic projects this week, but also in hotter climates like we'll see in Santiago a little later. We can also integrate renewables into passive house projects as the small energy demand that the buildings have makes them an absolute dream for integrating renewables to cover the actual energy demand once we have reduced it down. And of course, the problem that we're really facing today is retrofitting. We have solutions for that too, whether it be a deep retrofit all in one go or a step-by-step retrofit, making sure to do the project as it is economically feasible and also necessary according to when the components and the different parts of the building need to be replaced. So the Passive House Institute, over its 25-year history, has developed a range of key contributions to energy efficiency. There is training available in multiple languages worldwide. We have training facilities all over the world for building and component certifiers, designers, consultants, and tradespeople. And that course offer is increasing all the time. We also have design tools, not only for the energy balance calculation or PHPP, but also for the design and, of course, the building information modeling. We certify components of all kinds to make the job easier of selecting a locally climate applicable component for your design. And of course, certifying buildings to ensure accountability and quality assurance. And that has resulted in over 3 million square meters of certified passive house area around the world today. And that, as you can see, is growing exponentially, especially since 2010, where passive house has really taken off worldwide. And in the last few years, we've seen fantastic growth in South America, and it's been fantastic to see. So finally, getting over to the Icebox Challenge before I pass over to Juan over in Argentina. So the Icebox Challenge at its core is a public experiment. It is used to demonstrate the benefits of energy efficiency and buildings in a scientifically accurate, but most importantly, in a visually engaging manner. And you can see a picture here of explaining it. You can see that the two buildings look similar on the outside, but the building on the left, the Passive House Standard, has much thicker insulation for a start, but that they both start with the same amount of ice. So in Glasgow, we had two boxes. One was built to the Scottish building regulations, while the other met the International Passive House Standard. They were each filled with a cubic meter of ice and placed on St. Annex Square, a heavy foot traffic area in Glasgow, for 2 weeks, from July 23rd to August 6th. The last 2 weeks of the school holidays, so a really important time of year. The amount of ice that was left in the boxes at the end of this period was used to demonstrate how well each box then kept out the heat. And we were able to place posters on the outside of the boxes to give people a sense of the importance of energy efficiency and how to achieve passive house. The Icebox Challenge, it was not the first one ever, the one in Glasgow, but which was kind of fantastic actually, because we were able to use knowledge gained from previous Icebox challenges, as I mentioned, in Germany, Australia, and all over the world, to really streamline the process. We knew we wanted to demonstrate the advantages of highly energy efficient buildings to a wider audience, but we also wanted to engage with youth. So we ran the design aspect of the Icebox Challenge as a student design competition, getting applications or entries from 10 different student groups throughout Scotland who suggested designs for the ultimate ice boxes. The winner is on the left, but you can see the runner-up designs. The winner was from Robert Gordon University in Aberdeen, and all of our finalists won some really great prizes, but more importantly, perhaps, the winning team was able to make use of the facilities at Construction Scotland Innovation Centre, using their premises, their tools, and often donated components from local manufacturers to build the boxes themselves and gain experience in the fabrication process. So, while the two boxes looked exactly the same from the outside, save for the different color scheme, they were actually very different on the inside. They used different windows. The Passive House box had triple glazed windows, and they had different levels of insulation. They also paid different levels of attention to detail, making sure to, of course, close all of those thermal bridges in the Passive House box, whereas a higher air change rate was allowed for the Scottish box according to regulations. So this summer was surprisingly hot in Glasgow. We were actually just discussing it here in in Glasgow, where we are once again. The average temperatures tend to be around 17 to 20 degrees in summer here in Glasgow. But this year, for the 2 weeks, we had 24, 25 degrees and very strong cloud coverage, which meant that the hot air wasn't really escaping from the atmosphere, which kept things much warmer. And this is something that we know we're going to face more and more in the future. We know that global temperatures are increasing, and we know that we are going to have issues with heat stress and thus overheating in the cities, especially, which often have problems as heat islands. So this heat wave was a really great demonstration to show that the current Scottish standard is not actually in line with what we can expect from the climate in the future. However, the Passive House box really did itself proud. So I just wanted to show you some nice photos in the setup. It was a bit of a challenge getting some heavy lifting equipment into the center of Glasgow. And you can see how big the ice blocks were in comparison to a fully grown man here on the right. So 1 cubic meter of ice really is a lot. So before I show you the results from our side, I wanted to tell you a bit more about why. Why do we do the Icebox Challenge? Well, energy efficiency can be a concept that is quite hard to grasp. It is often an invisible benefit to the environment and particularly to our lives as we see it on the daily. Highly energy efficient buildings need substantially less energy for heating and cooling. We know that. And we know that this drastically reduced demand for energy, with this drastically reduced demand for energy, that passive house buildings are pivotal to climate protection. But that concept can seem very abstract to many. So the Icebox Challenge helps make this invisible concept visible and makes the intangible fun and engaging for the public. We chose Glasgow because Glasgow City Council and the local housing associations have been fantastic in supporting the Passive House standard, increasingly implementing it into new build and retrofit projects throughout the region. It's also, of course, the host city for COP26, and we wanted to highlight the importance of energy efficiency in the run-up to that. And we had many manufacturers and experts, designers, planners, and everyone in between locally donating their time, skills, and building materials to make this project possible. So big thank you to them. So finally, the results. They were absolutely staggering. All the ice had melted in the Scottish code box after just 11 days, which meant that by Monday, before our final event on the Friday, the Glasgow Ice Box, or the Scottish Building Regulation Ice Box, was completely empty, and it was pretty much dry by Friday when we opened the boxes up. On the other hand, there was still 121 kilos of ice remaining in the Passive House box at the final weigh-in. So one last thing from me, which is that the Glasgow Ice Boxes are going on a roadshow. There will be future ice boxes, including in Newcastle in the UK in the spring, and hopefully further throughout the UK after that. We also got confirmation that there'll be an Icebox Challenge in Sydney, Australia in February. And of course, we have the Icebox Challenge in Santiago happening right now. So you can find out more about the Icebox Challenge as it travels the world on iceboxchallenge.org. And with that, I will leave you with a video from the challenge in Glasgow and then hand over to Juan and our partners in Chile.
I think the Icebox Challenge is a really important demonstrator of challenge-based learning and just all the benefits that that can bring. Especially nowadays in the built environment, we know that we have a lot of drivers. We want buildings to be more sustainable, more energy efficient. We also need people who know how to work collaboratively, who know how to solve problems together with other people who may have different types of experiences.
The Icebox Challenge started with conversation about a year and a half ago, where we wanted to embed the knowledge of energy efficiency within teaching and also the students within built environment. So we were very keen to have the Passive House standard brought into the curriculum.
Its main objective was to compare and contrast between the Scottish building regulations and the Passive House standard, which uses more insulation and has less tolerances for thermal bridging.
And crucially, the boxes are to hold 1 tonne of ice each, and then after 3 weeks displayed in St Enoch Square in Glasgow, the amount of ice remaining will be compared and contrasted, and then data will be drawn to suggest how insulation has affected the thermal efficiency of the boxes.
The Icebox Challenge is one of the examples of the Timber Technology Engineering and Design Pathway project. So the Timber Tech project, as we call it for short, is part of the bigger picture in terms of how do we actually upskill the next generation of timber technologists, engineers, and designers.
The winning group were able to come into the Construction Scotland Innovation Factory and start to actually assemble and build the 2 ice boxes during a four-week period in preparation for the public display in St Enoch Square. This was facilitated mainly by the Construction Scotland Innovation Centre.
We tried to make it very environmentally friendly and also be interesting and show to the public that Passive House also can look interesting. It doesn't have to be all standard boxes. It's actually really exciting to see that.
You seem to be having some slight technical issues. Let me just check if it's working.
Module come together and to just look at it and think, wow, I did this.
For me, it's all about public awareness of Passive House, and this is getting people talking and asking questions. For me, that's what being in the city centre is really all about. So it's having maximum impact.
We honestly feel very, very proud to have achieved that, because at one point we thought, this might not be completed, but yeah, here we are.
The results are pretty clear. The Passive House box has got 120 kilos of ice, and the building standards box actually lost all of its ice on Monday.
The whole purpose of having the boxes displayed in public was really to bring people to the knowledge of the Passive House standard, and also to understand the differences between what we have in Scotland as a kind of bare minimum in energy efficiency and construction, compared with more efficient standards of build and design, and to really get that visual effect of performance, of energy use and different temperatures inside these boxes that would really determine the rate of how that melting of ice would happen.
We've got a lot of momentum now thanks to the success of the Icebox Challenge, and we're going to use that to create more challenge-based activities which are all about timber technology, engineering and design.
Certainly myself and the rest of the team really believe that Passive House is the future, for so many benefits other than people's health, people's reduced energy bills, but the impact we can make for helping against climate change. So I'm really pleased that we're going to have this experience behind us, that we can go into the world of work and have this hands-on experience about Passive House and show the rest of Scotland that we can do.
Okay, so I would like to just say that we look forward to the many Icebox challenges to come. And then I will now hand over to my colleagues from Chile and technically Lancaster University. So originally Chile? Okay, Chile via the UK.
Hello, my name is Alejandro Moreno, and I'm working at Lancaster Uni. And I believe that Juan Manuel is as well here with us, if you want to introduce yourself.
Okay, my name is Juan Manuel Vázquez. I'm the Executive Director of the Latin American Passive House Institute. We're very happy to be here. Sure, it's a pleasure to be with you and making this Icebox Challenge getting into the stage.
Yes, Georgia was saying the Ice Box Challenge in Glasgow wasn't the only one. There has been many more, and we're here to present as well the one in Santiago that we have been working a lot. So thank you very much for all that great introduction, Georgia. If you can run the presentation, please. Next slide.
Chile se convirtió este martes en el primer país de América Latina en sumarse al reto mundial Ice Box Challenge, una demostración científica que destaca visualmente los beneficios en materia ambiental del aislamiento térmico de los edificios y cuyos resultados se compartirán en la cumbre COP26. Dos inmensos bloques de hielo de 1.000 kilogramos cada uno se colocaron en la céntrica Plaza de Armas de Santiago, en dos casetas diferentes, una construida con el estándar alemán Passive House basado en la eficiencia energética y el otro en una construcción tradicional. El objetivo del reto es observar cuánto se derrite cada uno al cabo de 10 días y comprobar así la eficiencia energética de cada edificación. Los resultados de la demostración se compartirán en la cumbre climática COP26, que se extenderá hasta el próximo 12 de noviembre y contará con la presencia de más de 120 líderes de todo el mundo. De acuerdo con sus creadores, las casas pasivas permiten un ahorro energético de hasta un 90% en comparación con los edificios típicos, gracias al aprovechamiento de las fuentes de calor internas y a técnicas de enfriamiento pasivo como el sombreado estratégico, que mantienen una temperatura ideal en las viviendas. El experimento se ha realizado previamente en ciudades como Vancouver, Nueva York y Los Ángeles, y en numerosas capitales europeas como Bruselas o Viena. Chile vive desde hace una década una mega sequía sin precedentes que muchos expertos achacan al cambio climático. Según datos oficiales, la temperatura promedio de los últimos 10 años es la más alta desde 1969.
Earlier on today, I was on live from the main theater here in Glasgow at the COP, and I promised you a little bit in terms of what may be the Ice Box Challenge as well, related in terms of what is the impact to the climate change, but as well, what does it represent for the ice in the Antarctica. So in the next slide, please.
Al Instituto Latinoamericano Passive House, a la empresa que impulsó la elección profesional, a toda la gente que está participando de esto y cuidando de la ecología a través de la liberación de carbono. Un gran abrazo a esta tierra fantástica y fabulosa que siempre que vuelve desde la Antártica chilena.
So as I was explaining earlier on today, I was saying that part of the ice that is in these boxes has to represent part of the ice that is impacted by the climate change, because the ice that we have in the Arctic poles is the first one that gets the damage, or it gets to suffer a little bit more in terms of climate change. So that's why we wanted to do as well this presentation with what we believe, or who we believe can be the or ambassadors and the guardians of this ice in the Arctic pole. If you could go to the next slide, please.
Hola, mi nombre es Marcelo Lepe, soy director nacional del Instituto Antártico Chileno y quiero felicitar a los participantes en esta iniciativa Ice Box Challenge. Para nosotros es de crucial importancia entender que el continente antártico ejerce una poderosa influencia sobre el clima mundial, y particularmente sobre Chile, el país más cercano a él. Estamos desarrollando toda una estrategia de nuevas energías para las bases antárticas, nuevas tecnologías para evitar, por supuesto, la polución. La vanguardia de la tecnología en construcciones está en Antártica. Por lo tanto, este desafío ha sido tan interesante para nosotros. Espero que muchos de ustedes se entusiasmen en conocer por qué es tan importante comprender y conocer el continente antártico y su influencia sobre Chile continental sudamericano. Pero de la misma manera se vinculen con iniciativas como esta, que ayudan a propagar la idea de que es posible frenar el cambio climático o detener por lo menos en un 1,5 grados Celsius el incremento de temperatura para los próximos años. Así que un gran abrazo desde Punta Arenas y estamos expectantes de los resultados del challenge.
Juan Manuel.
Okay, we are very excited with all this. You know, first of all, of course, making an icebox challenge in Latin America, as Georgia says, Latin America have most hot and humidity climate than Europe. So it's perfect for us to demonstrate the strength of passive house there. And we know that buildings are responsible for almost 40% of the CO2 emissions. And we have a unique opportunity here, because if we use the correct materials like we did, and also Glasgow did with the Icebox Challenge over there, and use bio-based materials to build this with this standard, building can turn from a carbon source to a carbon sink. And that's a really unique opportunity that we have to tackle the climate crisis that we have. So if we can go to another slide, please.
I believe we have a little bit of technical problems here. The video may be coming back later on. I'm sorry for that. Completely fine.
It's okay. It's okay, Alejandro, because this video is one that makes this open final, you know. So we're going to reveal this in the next video that Georgia, by the way, you have it in your email right now. So if we can get to the other slide, please.
Yeah, we here, Georgia is just trying to get the next, here streaming directly from the results on Santiago. We've been talking a lot of what might be about the Passive House Challenge, the Icebox Challenge in Latin America, and how that might reflect in all Latin America, the Passive House, and all the potential that we have in Latin America to look about the natural materials as well, and how can we incorporate them into Passive House. We need to remember that the Passive House is not just only a way to design, it's more a method to design, and that brings us all the flexibility that we can bring into the Passive House. And hopefully soon, we'll be able to see all the results that we have from the Icebox Challenge in Santiago. Oh, so are we still going there? A few seconds more, so it will be completely fine. I believe that we'll be ready in any second by now.
By the way, we can thank the people from. Okay.
Are we ready?
Hello.
So yeah, Georgia is. Yep. We're going to start the video now.
Yeah.
So this is the video that we have prepared for the Icebox Challenge, and I think that probably we go back to our partners directly from Chile to see how they are doing now there. Marcelo and Javier, who's on Chile directly, will be participating now. All the floor is yours.
Sí. Hola amigos, aquí les habla Marcelo Huenchuñir, soy el presidente del Instituto Latinoamericano Passive House y muy contento de compartir con ustedes aquí junto a mi amigo Marcus Tafu los resultados de este Icebox Challenge Santiago 2021 bajo este sol brillante y un día con 28 grados Celsius. Marcus.
Yes, he's introducing Marcel to this great event that it was, we had great success this morning. We finally opened the boxes and everybody was very shocked to find out the results of today's Passive House Challenge.
Ok, están todos ansiosos de saber qué es lo que pasó. Acompáñenme a ver acá. Aquí tenemos el cubo con el estándar Passive House, donde inicialmente teníamos 1000 kilos de hielo y ahora quedaron 645 kilos de hielo.
Now everyone was very excited to find out the results of this morning's Icebox Challenge. Each one started with 1,000 kilos, and now they have 230 kilos on the left and 645 kilos on the right.
Correcto. Recordar que este cubo fue hecho con madera contralaminada y una estructura secundaria en madera de pino con interior de lana de oveja.
Yes. This structure was actually made out of wood and out of sheep lawn. Yes.
Okay.
Sheepwood, yes, sheepwood, thank you.
Bien, vamos ahora a ver acá en el otro extremo el cubo con el estándar térmico local, donde quedaron 230 kilos de hielo.
This is the standardized wood house, which is 230 kilos of ice. Basically, it's a big difference between both of them. Yes.
Bien, estamos muy contentos con los resultados obtenidos. Podemos caminar acá a la Standard Passive House. La ciudadanía lo ha entendido, hubo mucha expectación. La verdad, las cosas que ha sido todo un éxito y les agradecemos a todos nuestros patrocinadores, auspiciadores, a Juan Manuel Vázquez, a Alejandro Moreno allá por esta conexión. Muy contentos.
He's very happy that all the results are very, very positive, and he's thanking everybody that it was supportive, and the sponsors that actually sponsored this event of Icebox Challenge, and everybody's very excited what happened today, and thank you very much, and also Juan and everyone there in Glasgow.
Recordar también que como dato aparte, tuvimos días muy cálidos, sobre los 30 grados Celsius, y las temperaturas al interior de esta caja con el estándar Passive House estuvo de entre los 3 y los 5 grados Celsius. No obstante, en la caja con el estándar de la reglamentación térmica local, las temperaturas oscilaron entre los 12 hasta 17 e incluso 19 grados Celsius.
Even we had cooler days between the 30 degrees and under. Passive House sustained the temperature
de 3 a 5.
From 3 to 5 degrees compared to the regular house, which was between 17 and 19 degrees.
Correcto. Bien, lo que corresponde a nosotros ahora es entregar el premio, que lo vamos a hacer en los próximos días. La meta ha sido cumplida y estamos muy contentos de que tener esta gran audiencia. Si me gustaría que por favor la vean, muestren acá al público, no estamos solos, aquí está la gente de la Plaza de Armas.
Yes, he's very excited that everybody turned out great. The goal was met. Passive House did pass the test, and showing everyone was, even though this morning was much more people than right now, but everybody was very supportive and happy that all the results were positive.
Sí. Muchas gracias a Newform, BrainTech y todas las empresas que participaron en este gran proyecto. Estamos muy orgullosos como Chile y como Latinoamérica de ser los pioneros en haber desarrollado este experimento urbano que ha sido todo un éxito.
He's thanking Uniform and BrainTech for bringing this new technology to the rest of the world, and everything basically turned out just the way that you guys were hoping for. And thank you very much.
Okay.
Now pass back to you. Yes.
Thank you very much, Marcelo and Javier. And I was as well looking in terms to explaining what is the Icebox Challenge and what is the Passive House. But Georgia, you did an amazing job. So if we can just get the next slide. So we were looking as well to look as well, next slide. See as well what the Passive House is in Latin America, and I'll pass it back here to Juan Manuel.
Okay, we started the Latin American Passive House Institute 3 years ago because we have many professionals, not many, so a few professionals in different countries, and we want to get this critical mass together. So, you know, many people from Brazil goes to work to Canada, and people from Panama goes to work to New York because they don't have a passive house in their own countries. So we start to spread the standard. We start to dedicate time by the capacitation of the new professionals, also as certified passive house designer and also as certified passive house tradesperson. So we are very happy now because the numbers now, as Georgia says, are growing and growing in South America and Latin America also. So it's very important for us to mention that we always try to get first with the professional in the countries, then with the academia, with the universities of each country, and it's kind of it's strategic for ELAP to go on and adding some professionals in our networking.
Next slide.
As you see here, we are now, there it says 80 members, but we are over the 100 members over there. It says 18 countries and we reach 19 countries. And we have alliance with the North American Passive House Network that now it's the Passive House Network, and also with Passive House Canada. And we have a lot more. I think we are already in 50 certified Passive House designer and almost 30 certified Passive House tradesperson. We are part also of the Global Alliance for Building and Construction since a year ago. And next slide, please. And we did in the 10 last May, the first conference of the America. We get together Canada, United States, and Latin America, and we make a huge conference with very good speakers over there, of course, to get the Passive House in the United Nations Regional Climate Week in Dominican Republic. Next slide, please. And of course, we have this alliance also with Lancaster University. That's why Alejandro is our ambassador there. And here you can see some examples that are being built in Passive House in Mexico or in Argentina also, and in the principles that George had told about Passive House, we have to make a special subject with this solar protection. This is what we call the sixth principle, because here in the hot climate, as you see in our Icebox Challenge, the two boxes have this special shading on the facades and also over the roof that make our experiment great with great results. you know. The next slide, please. So, Alejandro, you want to tell us something about this?
Yeah, now in Latin America, well, Juan Manuel had that vision that all the passive house designers were spread all Latin America and going around. Now we have 75 passive house designers in the whole Latin America with over 40 passive house tradesperson, and over 35,000 square meters seeking certification in Latin America, which is incredible, adding a little bit more to the number that you were saying earlier on today. And all this is growing exponentially, so it's going towards there. The Latin American Passive House Institute is trying to bring all these efforts together and try to unify them as one of them, but as well making one point of all the richness that we have in our doorstep, that is the use of the natural materials. And this is something that we wanted to as well showcase with the Icebox Challenge, because we use natural materials made, well, directly taken from Chile, as we are going to see on the next slide. So here we are looking at how the Icebox was built from CLT, from new form, and as well all the wool insulation that we use for the...
Nosotros siempre hemos vendido lana sucia, claro, certificada por supuesto, acondicionada, bien acondicionada y certificada al mercado internacional, pero hoy día estamos viendo otra forma, que es colocar nuestra lana como aislante en casas, en cabañas, en construcciones. Entonces, para eso hemos ya firmado un convenio con la NAR y esperamos de que esto sea un nuevo camino. Es un porcentaje de la lana, por supuesto, que nosotros vendemos. Un 10, un 15%, un 20% de la lana que nosotros exportamos, que es de menor categoría, la queremos colocar para algo que sí sirve mucho por un proceso que hay que hacerle, por supuesto, un lavado y un acondicionamiento para que podamos sacarle un valor agregado.
Y de esa forma, en conjunto, poder trabajar la madera, que es una nueva arista, digamos, que está haciendo productiva esta asociación, y junto a esta construcción de tabiques con la madera local, poder incorporarle el aislante, de manera de poder comercializar un sistema constructivo y, ¿por qué no?, viviendas prefabricadas también con este sistema. Entonces, queremos ir avanzando paso a paso, utilizando la lana como material aislante, que ya hemos venido practicando y desarrollando con ellos, pero generar e impulsar un modelo de negocio que va un poquito más allá, que es construir en conjunto el sistema constructivo lanar.
Esta es una alternativa, estamos partiendo de día, empezando a lavar lana. Creemos que esto va a crecer, ¿cierto? Y ojalá así, porque nuestra gente tiene la confianza en su dirigente y nosotros también tenemos la confianza de que podemos avanzar.
So we use all the natural material source in Chile. And this is as well bringing a little bit more to the circular economy that the Passive House is also trying to take a little bit in terms of all the materials and source of the building components for the passive houses. If we could go to the next slide, please. And finally, this is the video of the energy efficiency first in Spanish.
Desde la familiaridad de nuestro hogar hasta la oficina que compartes con los compañeros, los restaurantes, cines, piscinas y centros comerciales donde pasamos nuestro tiempo libre, hasta los hospitales y centros de atención sanitaria que cuidan nuestra salud, y los colegios y universidades donde se educan las próximas generaciones. Los edificios impactan nuestro mundo, pero los edificios de hoy en día también impactan en la naturaleza, de modo que amenazan nuestro futuro en común. Afortunadamente, conseguir edificios mejores y más sostenibles está a nuestro alcance. Priorizando la eficiencia energética, el estándar Passive House reduce la demanda de calefacción y refrigeración hasta un 90%, comparado con un edificio convencional. Esto asegura confort, salud, sostenibilidad y ahorro. Los edificios Passive House son dinámicos, rentables y resilientes a lo largo del tiempo. Los edificios influyen en nuestras vidas y nuestro clima, y ya es hora de hacer que nuestro confort interior sea sostenible para el medio ambiente. La eficiencia energética es la primera energía renovable y está aprobado que Passive House así lo garantiza.
And well, I think if we can go to the next slide, please. We're all here together. There is Georgia here with me as well, Marcelo, who was all directly streaming from Chile, Juan Manuel, and of course myself here in Glasgow. Thank you very much.
And let me tell you the last thing, Georgia, because in the Icebox Challenge of Santiago, we have this challenge that people get into the web page and make the bet how much ice were there. So we have a winner, and the winner will have 2 tickets to go to the glaciers in Chilean Patagonia, with all inclusive. So people from the municipality of Cochrane and people from the municipality of Coyhaique, we are very thankful to them because they are going to pay all this, and continuing with the issue of ice, we're going to, make people know the glacier ice in Patagonia from Chile. So we are very happy of that too.
And do you already have the results of who was the closest guess?
We
you
are
don't need
working.
to say the name, but just what the closest guess was.
Yeah, and was very close, because there was one that bet that was 250 in the Chilean regulation and 690 in the Passive House, and we have 230 and 645. So it was too close.
Wow.
Yeah.
We had a guess, the winner of the Icebox Challenge in Glasgow guessed, I think 1 kilogram off. So we had 121 kilos and they guessed 120, and no ice in the Scottish box. And I think they won. I mean, potentially slightly less cool now. I was quite happy with our prize. We sent them to a Passive House getaway for a weekend so they can experience Passive House for themselves. But maybe Scotland just needs to work on its glaciers.
Yeah.
No, not that I know of. Thank you so much. It's so exciting to see the amazing Icebox Challenge over the pond. A couple of ponds actually, but nonetheless, it's amazing to see Passive House taking off in South America. And thank you so much for your hard work. We look forward to many more Passive House Icebox challenges in the future. And it's fantastic to see the results down in Santiago.
Great.
Then I think that brings us to a close for tonight. Then thank you to everyone who joined in to watch our session tonight. If you want to find more about the Icebox Challenge, as I said, www.iceboxchallenge.org. And that also connects to the Latin American Passive House Challenge and to any future ones as well. So thank you very much. And join the conversation online using #BuildingsPavilion and, of course, linking the Global Alliance for Building and Construction.